Guten Tag, friends.
Hello.
Welcome into our Oktoberfest special. Stephen and Gabe here. I think they say Guten Tag in Germany, but
Guten Tag. It's so funny to me.
I'm not entirely sure. We have some authentic, official Oktoberfest beer brewed in the city of Munich, and I have a whole lot of it, so I'm really excited about it.
Yes, we are pumped back for round 39. Oktoberfest isn't happening this year in Munich, so we're bringing it into your headphones. So, yeah, let's get into it.
Hey, Gabe.
Hey, Steven.
Ozaptis!
All right, I'm not going to lie. For a second, I thought you said Olaf, the snowman from Frozen, and I got really confused. I'm glad that's not the case.
Norway. He's in Norway.
Listen, I was just as confused as you were.
Apparently, that's what you say when you tap a keg at the start of Oktoberfest. That's what you have to do. You have to say that, tap the keg, and everyone
then
cheers,
the party starts.
And you start pouring the lagers. So Oktoberfest is here. It normally starts towards the end of September this year. The official start date was to be September 19th. And of course, that didn't happen, but we can still party like it's Munich 2020.
Break out those lederhosen and put them on,
right?
And send us a photo. We will give you all the shout outs. We're really pumped for this. Doing a lot of research about Oktoberfest. I mean, we just kept saying to each other, like, holy crap, we have to go to this. Like the fact that we haven't even considered it yet is on us. Like we have to go to this at some point in the near future.
Yep. Tune into the Hop 2022. We'll be broadcasting live from Munich.
Drunk off our asses. We're Germany!
You can follow the show at the HO Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. That's the best place to get in touch with us and send us a message. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you want us to drink. Send us beer. We love that. Anything of that nature. You can hit us up via email as well, thehopod@gmail.com. You can find us on YouTube, on Facebook, and you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts and rate and review on there. If you have a minute, if you want to do a good deed today and celebrate Oktoberfest by spreading some love and cheer, give us a rate and review on Apple Podcasts. Help us help you. Make the show better.
If you really cared about us, you'd give us a 5-star rating. But that's none of my business.
Anything less than 5 stars, you have to leave a comment and say what you're complaining about. That's my only...
Explain why.
Yeah. What could we have done for you? Let's get into the news real quick, and then we'll breeze through the fun stuff. And we're kicking things off with one of our, dare I say, my favorite brewery on the show.
Stay thirsty, my friends.
Oh, I get it. It's a joke because you don't like them.
It's sarcastic. I don't not like them. I just think that their beer is a...
You don't not like them. It's just hashtag corn syrup.
Hashtag corn syrup. Well, guess what? They're teaming up with Yuengling to offer distribution of Yuengling on the West Coast. This is kind of cool. Yuengling Brewing, they've been on our show. Check out our America episode. So DG Yuengling and Son Brewery out of Pennsylvania.
Son of a bitch. I can't believe you did that.
They are a Pennsylvania brewery, widely known as the oldest craft brewery in the United States. Well, they've only been available on the East Coast for 191 years. They have a brewery in Pennsylvania and a brewery in Florida, but they've only been available on the East Coast. Well, they announced via social media on September 15th that they are forming a joint venture with Molson Coors to expand their beer west. They currently have a 22-state footprint, and they are now moving on to the West Coast. So they'll team up with Molson Coors' operation based in Chicago, and by tapping into that network, Yuengling can use those distribution channels to land out west. We don't have full terms of this, but this is great news for anybody out in my state of California who might want to get their hands on some good old-fashioned East Coast Yuengling lager.
I mean, yeah, and it's also cool because, you know, as we mentioned on the show and as you just mentioned, known as like the oldest brewery, I mean, people out west can learn some history, if you will. So
yeah, I mean, I feel that having been on the West Coast and the East Coast and lived on both sides, I feel that West Coast beer, it's kind of like West Coast like buildings. It's just like everything feels a little younger, maybe a little bit behind the trends, I guess. Don't at me. And I feel like this is just bringing a little bit of like East Coast rich history to the West Coast. It's kind of cool. God willing, Molson Coors won't put corn syrup in Yuengling's beer.
Stay thirsty, my friends.
But they're just using them to distribute, so I don't think they will.
that would not be ideal for anyone.
That would make me unhappy.
Moving right along, we've got a new partnership. The Craft Brew Alliance and Anheuser-Busch partnership has been cleared by the United States Department of Justice. Now, the company's agreement with the U.S. Department of Justice comes after a CBA shareholder approval of the proposed expansion partnership and CBA and ABI's decision to sell CBA's Kona brewing operations in Hawaii to PV Brewing Partners. So big changes coming. Craft Brew Alliance has been noted for its American craft beers. They thrive on brews, brands, and bringing, as they say, market world-class American craft beers. And you guys know all about Anheuser-Busch, the big... I don't know why I want to use the expression belly of the beast.
Big
I don't
Papa.
know if it applies. Big Papa, if you will. They are coming together. They've gotten clearance from the Department of Justice. I
mean, Kona is already owned by Anheuser-Busch, and I think we reported on this story. Pretty sure we reported about it a while ago. This just clears the way for Anheuser-Busch to do what they were doing. I don't know, man. I'm never a huge fan when Anheuser-Busch gets involved in craft beer. It's like just be who you are. You're not craft beer. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Yeah, I feel like they're no real shade being thrown, but I am going to say this. I feel like every new thing they touch, they're like, "Oh, yeah, craft beer, we got it. We'll put our spin on it." And it's like, No. You touching it means it's not really craft beer anymore.
Exactly. I have seen far too many breweries fall into the Anheuser-Busch rabbit hole of craft beers, and I've seen the quality of their beers, in my humble opinion. And what do I know? I just co-host a craft beer podcast, but what do I know? I've seen the quality of the beers go downhill, so I don't know. I mean, Kona is already owned by them, but it really just gives Anheuser-Busch it gives them another avenue to get sued by another craft beer lover. So
in 2 weeks, in 2 weeks, we'll be reporting about another lawsuit that's probably either A, going to be thrown out, or B, going to be dismissed quickly, but you will hear about it.
And finally, not too much going on in the beer world this week, but some good news, because I don't know about you, Gabe. I could really use just a little shot of good news. Just like
Listen, I've been begging for good news ever since I knew what coronavirus was. So hit me.
California Wild Ales is reopening their tasting room, which is great news for California and the San Diego area. This is a sour house, sour brewery in San Diego. It's the city's only all barrel aged and sours brewery. And their Sorrento Valley tasting room has now reopened. The brewery is going to open every weekend from 12 to 5 p.m. And they're offering a wide selection of their sour ales featuring local seasonal fruit, as well as special releases on tap. And they have dine-in food options from Grandma's Deli. Yay, Grandma and her sandwiches.
Oh, Granny.
They're still open 12 to 3 p.m. Wednesday to Friday for to-go beer as well. But this is good news. It's trending up a little bit in the state of California. Obviously, California was in a rough place coronavirus-wise for a little bit there. So great to see them being able to trend in the right direction after, California. Listen, California needs a beer as a state.
California needs a keg. Let's be real.
Yeah.
So, and we're here to give it to them.
We are. And with that, let's tap the kegs, Gabe. What do you say?
What do you say here? I say let's do it. And what better way to do it than with an old-fashioned German toast? Now, before we get into this, I'm just going to be honest with everyone. My German, and I can only assume Steven's German, is not great. So just bear with us, please.
That is accurate.
It's just, listen, I'm Italian, he's Irish. What do you want us to do? Wie das Leben ständig, du bist langer Toast als lebendig. Which in German means, always enjoy life. You are dead longer than you are alive. Prost!
Prost! Can I be honest? I really thought you were going to do the whole toast in German. And I was...
That is the whole toast in German.
But then you said it again in English.
Oh, you wanted me to just say it in German and then leave it?
I didn't want you to. I'm just saying I thought you were going to, and I admired the courage.
Listen, if I didn't have the English in front of me, I wouldn't know what I'd be saying. So I'm sure there's a German speaker out there that's like, wow, he was way off. But what are we going to do?
All right, don your lederhosen. Let's go drink.
Woo!
That music was not German. But you know what's funny?
It absolutely was. I looked it up and I found German drinking music, and that's what I got.
No,
Apparently,
I'm talking about
Oktoberfest.
I'm talking about the transition music we just played.
Ah, indeed.
But you know what's funny? Yeah. One of the breweries on their website has like a whole do it yourself at home Oktoberfest situation, and along with that, they had a playlist, like a Spotify playlist they put together of Oktoberfest music. And I would tell you to guess what the first song was, but you're not going to get it right. But it was Mambo number 5.
Oh,
yeah.
No, it wasn't.
I swear to God, top of the list was Mambo number 5.
Mambo number 5. Let's go to Germany, drink beer in lederhosen, and dance to a little bit of Monica in my life. Are you kidding me?
That's just what I'm just reporting the facts. I'm just here to share the news. Gabe, you
don't even need to finish the episode at this point. I need a minute.
All right, you drink first because your beer is what came first.
I have the Spaten-Brau Oktoberfest Marzen. This is one of, if not the original original Oktoberfest beers. It is coming in at a fun 5.9% IBUs. We're looking at about 23 on the SRM chart. We're looking at a very, very deep red amber color. I know it's a little tough for you to see, but
it's dark.
Very, very woodeny. Hold it up to the light. It's very darker
copper kind of
little. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. So on the SRM, we're looking at a 29-30-ish. Beer Advocate gave it an 82. Untapped gave it a 3.64, and Beer Connoisseur gave it an 87. So, pretty well liked.
Nice.
Yeah, this, I couldn't find too much information about the beer, because when I went to the website, it's all in German.
It sure was.
And as you can tell from my toast, I don't speak that thing. So, we're just going to kind of go off of what we know, articles we've read, and what I taste and smell. So, yeah.
So he's flying blind.
right away, very thick, pillowy head. It is full. I mean, I'm drinking out of a classic like beer mug just because it's Oktoberfest, so I feel like I kind of have to. But this is what you want to see in your beer mug when you're drinking with your friends in a tent, out in fall weather in Germany. Like I said, got that copper amber color to it. Very, very nice. And for those of you who know me, I love that thing. On the nose. Yeah, I will say it is very similar to what I thought it was going to be. It's got that bready kind of graininess to it. The malts are there, maybe a little bit of clove. Definitely caramel, very hint of toffee. It's kind of got that like malt backbone type of smell to it. I read a couple reviews that said herbal hops. Getting a little bit of that. I might get that more in the taste. Some nice lacing on the side. That's pretty cool. And the foamy head is still there. That's awesome. So without further ado,
Prost. While he's drinking that, the style of the beer is a Marzen. So there's two official beer styles that can be served at Oktoberfest. They have to come from one of the 6 breweries in Munich, of which Spaten is one, and they have to be either a Marzen or a Fest beer. So the Marzen came first. That's the one that Gabe's drinking now. And the way it came about was back in the olden timey times, to quote Sarah Silverman, in the 1500s, the Bavarian brewers decreed that beer production was only allowed between September 29th and April 23rd. It could not happen during the summer, partially in fear that because they didn't have the systems and whatnot to cool down the brewing equipment, they would basically burn the city down. So they had to create a beer right at the end of that window in March that they could stockpile, like a darker beer that they could stockpile, and hence the Marzen was born. Marzen meaning March beer, and it was brewed more strongly so that it wouldn't spoil and basically survive through the summer so they could drink it during the summer and still get drunk without burning their city to the ground. That's what Gabe's drinking today.
That would be ideal if to not burn the city down. So the taste, okay, now hear me out. I'm gonna label this as dangerous. And now with an ABV of only 5.9, you think like maybe not. But the reason why is because it's so easy to drink. And I feel like, especially for people like you and me that like the bite, they like the stronger stuff. I mean, we'd be able to kill. I think I can say this with confidence. I think you and I could both each kill a 6-pack of this, no problem.
Sheesh.
Like, now, granted, I have a classic pour. It's not like the big mugs that they serve at Oktoberfest. I'm sure if we had those, it'd be a different story. But it's not carbonated like at all in the mouth. It's so surprising. Like it's just like it goes down so easily. The back end definitely has the maltiness to it. It's got I would say everything on the nose kind of follows in the mouth. It's not as strong. It's more of hints here and there. Mm-hmm. Like I taste the graininess. I taste a little bit of hop. More so the malt backbone. I'm getting the caramel off of it. It's a little toasty. Not like roasted malts, but like it's got that like hint. Again, it's subtle enough that it makes you think about it, but it's definitely like, Oktoberfest, you go there to celebrate and you go there to raise a glass or 7. But I mean, I feel like the atmosphere, your friends, the tent, like everything that's got going on, you're probably not going to drink these beers and think, okay, what flavors am I getting? So I feel
probably not.
For this purpose, it's so perfect because you don't have to think too hard about this. I mean, it's just a classic malt backbone, really straightforward, ambery colored beer. And, I feel like if it were 5% or lower, I'd be like, yeah, it's fine. It's a little boring. But I think because it's 5.9, I think that 0.9 really helps it bump up to like, oh yeah, like this will make you feel good after a couple. But I mean, it's just, I don't know any other way to say it. It's just a solid beer.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense because of what I was saying before, that the beers were made stronger intentionally so that they could survive longer. It's apparently a requirement that they have to be comprised of 13.5% to 13.99% of the original wort extract, which
correct
is significantly higher than the 11.5% that the regular lager clocks in at. So that ends up giving it an ABV of around 6%-ish, or 5.9 in your case, versus the 4.5 to 4.9-ish that a traditional sort of Munich lager would be.
Yeah, this is just this is what you want to drink under a tent. Like, I feel like if it was like a juicy New England IPA, I'd be like, really, this for Oktoberfest? So this for someone who knew only so much about Oktoberfest, this makes so much sense. And I mean, I feel like this is Oktoberfest.
Mm. So my mouth is watering now, so I'm
going to pass the torch.
Thank you. And I'm going with the Paulaner Oktoberfest beer. So I mentioned there's Marzens and Fest beers. The Fest beer came around later. It came around in the 1950s, and this is a beer style that is much lighter. The sort of amber copper Marzen that Gabe's drinking was sort of replaced in a way by this new style called the Fest beer. The Munich breweries all brew it. Paulaner apparently only brews their Marzen for people outside the country, and their Fest beer is all that they have in Germany, apparently. And this beer clocks in, the metrics are all really similar to Gabe's. 6% ABV. Beer Advocate has it at 87. Untapped has it at 3.54. The major difference here is the color. It is way lighter. The brewery refers to it
straw yellow.
Yep. Yeah. I mean,
I would say even lighter than that.
Sunshine in a glass.
Literally, though. Yeah.
Paulaner refers to it as their liquid gold, and that's exactly what it is. And I'm laughing because this glass is so hilariously big.
Yeah, you got to tell them about this.
I have to two-hand it. It's a 32 ounce. It's a liter glass. So I have a liter of beer. The can came in the glass, and then I took the can out and poured the beer into the glass, and now I have a really heavy, giant stein of beer. Because
you could literally like curl that.
This is Oktoberfest. I know, this is like heavier than the weights I've been able to procure since COVID.
That's what I'm saying. Like that, what you have is like, that is the Oktoberfest staple.
Yep.
Like I wish I had a glass that big and a beer that big so I could, because like I feel like I just have my 12-ounce bottle, and that's great, but I would love to do it right.
Yep. Well, you can check it out on our social medias. There will be pictures there. I'm very excited about this.
Yes, there will be.
So this beer is the only beer that Paulaner serves in their tents. Again, we mentioned there are 6 breweries in Munich that are allowed to brew these beers. So it has to be either a Marzen or a Fest beer, and it has to be brewed within the city limits. That means that Paulaner, Spaten-Brau, Stadtliches, maybe, Lowenbrau, Hacker, Peshore, and Augustiner are the breweries that are able to brew and serve beer at Oktoberfest. All right, so it had a really nice white foamy head, which
I just want to watch you drink this.
I don't even know how I'm gonna.
You just have to keep repositioning, and it's just hilarious to me.
It had a really nice like white foamy head, which stuck around for quite some time. It really looks like the beer emoji. Honestly, it looks like a giant beer emoji. On the nose, you get cracker, you get yeast, you get honey for sure. You get sweet malts. The malts are really, you can tell it's that sweet caramel German yeast or malt. A little bit of pepperiness and some some florality. Like I can definitely tell that there's those German Hallertau hops are in there.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on the nose. I mean, it's similar to a Pilsner. It's that German lager thing. And it's like these easy drinking beers. And we've had them on the show before, not necessarily straight out of Munich, but we've had Yingling on the show was one, even some of the bigger beers that we did, even our friends with their added corn syrup.
Stay thirsty, my friend.
The nose tends to be a lot more complicated or complex, I guess I should say, than you would imagine. And you just don't think about it because usually you're in a situation where you're not analyzing the beer. Like certainly if we were at Oktoberfest doing this, we would be the odd men out.
So, yeah, I mean, we would be, but I've been after reading all up about Oktoberfest and whatnot, there's a lot of things that they pinpoint that it's just like, if you don't want to look like a tourist, I almost said terrorist. If you don't want to look like a tourist, you'll say, like, you don't call it Oktoberfest, you call it Weizen.
You call it what?
And apparently...
Weizen?
Weizen. Weisin, something like that.
Okay.
But I know that the W is pronounced like a V, but yeah, you call it that, and it's like, oh, you're from around here. And it's like, yeah,
well,
we belong.
That would explain why this beer that I'm drinking is referred to by Paulaner in Germany as their Oktoberfest Weizen, Wiesen. But it's the same beer.
There you go.
All right, I'm gonna drink it if that's all the same to everybody.
Go for it. Enjoy. I mean, not to switch gears too much, but I mean, just going off of the Spaten I have, I mean, maybe I haven't eaten enough today, but like I'm starting to feel a little warm inside, a little silly. I feel okay, but it's putting me in a good place. Like I said, this freaking 5.9% can be dangerous if it's so smooth. So with yours at 6%, looking very smooth, yours looks like you could chug that whole thing. So I am very interested.
It's really crisp in the mouth and really clean and dry and actually really delicious. I first got hit with this hint of like sweetness and lemon. There is a grassiness to it, but definitely sweet malts take the cake. I mean, that's what you get is like sweet bread, honey. In the middle of your palate, it starts to kind of fade a little bit into something a little bit more bitter. You get some of that toasted quality, maybe a little bit of like a nuttiness or an earthiness. The hops are really, really subtle. They are citrusy, if anything, but it's like this earthiness. But the sweet malts are the main thing. And what's fascinating about it, and I genuinely don't mean to beat this over the head, but there's a nice sweetness to it, which reminds me a little bit of the Dos Equis that we had. However, there is no corn syrup in this beer. So what I love about it is that it has that nice sweetness that I think Dos Equis is like trying to emulate, in that lager style or trying to heighten. But this beer does it purely with German malts, German hops, and that malt hop combination is what brings about the sweetness, which is really like delicious. Ingredient wise, the hops that are in here are Hercules and Hallertau.
Yes,
Hercules. And the malts are Pilsner malt, which is that's pretty obvious, and then Munich malt, which is a darker version of that, but both barley malts. So
I will say Paulaner's website was very specific, so good on that.
Yes, and in English, which we
thank God
we understand that you don't live in this country, but it just it helps. It's helpful.
I mean, I looked at Spaten's website and I was like, damn, they got hieroglyphics. I don't know what any of this is. The U with the two dots on top of it. I don't know what that is. I know it's a thing.
That was hilarious because I was like, oh, we've got to be able to translate some. No. I was able to put my age in. That's about it.
That yes, you saw that, right? Like first off, I understand because of laws and whatnot, every single beer website has to be like, are you 21? And it's like, I mean, even if we weren't, like, why would we say, like, who's clicking the no button on that? Number one. Number two, yeah, because I've been to so many beer websites, I was like, okay, I think this is asking for my age, so let me enter it. And I got on. But yeah, after that, I was like, well,
but even that was confusing because the date goes first and the month comes later.
Yeah.
And
that's
and
right.
It's not
that's
like
how they
it
do it in
says
Europe.
D
Yeah.
and M. It says other letters. It was confusing.
I don't know other letters.
Oh, man. I just want to read what Paulaner said about this beer, which is that ever since 1818, we have brewed our bottom-fermented Oktoberfest beer during Oktoberfest, Germany's favorite Oktoberfest beer and a true institution in Munich. The glass is full of October sunshine, strong and golden, the perfect balance of a light taste of hops and a strong note of malt. A feast of a beer which always goes down well. This beer is only brewed for the Oktoberfest. That's where it belongs, along with all of the fun of the fair, like the Ferris wheel and roasted almonds.
But Stephen, don't eat those. You'll
I
die.
can't eat those. What about pretzels? Almonds?
No, almonds are nothing.
What the fuck? Nobody ever told me there were almonds involved.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, are you sure you can drink this beer? Because
I mean,
I have it here. I'll do it if I need to.
We're in it now, fam. Paulaner is the brewery I was talking about that has like a make your own Oktoberfest, and it's really thorough. And I mean, they have do-it-yourself decorations. They have the Spotify playlist that I mentioned. They have desktop wallpapers for your computer and Zoom backgrounds. They have wallpapers for your smartphone. They have a Facebook group. They have a Bavarian snack board. They got clothes pegs. I mean, they got garlands, photo frames. They got everything you need, complete with. It's literally a Spotify playlist. It's got Mambo number 5. And then after that, everything is German.
A little bit of Monica in my life.
I'm not kidding.
My God, that's hilarious.
I mean, it's literally like the first. Okay, number 7 is Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes, but the first 6 songs are Mambo number 5 and a bunch of German songs.
Sang in German.
Followed by Seven Nation Army, Coco Jambu, Burning Heart from the Rocky 4 soundtrack, and It's Raining Men, and a whole bunch of other.
I can't. Oh my God. However, I will have to say, if we were ever at Oktoberfest just like drinking like monsters under a tent and I heard Mambo number 5, I'd probably be dancing on the table.
I'd be so pumped about it. Are you kidding me? Let's throw it back to early 90s.
As we mentioned, if Oktoberfest were to happen today, it would take place from September 19th through Sunday, October 4th of good old 2020. It takes place every year on the largest fairground in Munich. It's overlooked by the bronze 18-meter-high Bavaria statue, on which steps you can enjoy a break from all of the craziness that is Oktoberfest. I didn't realize how much of a party this was. I mean, they have all of the tents where you can drink in different breweries at each one. They've got rides, they've got games, they've got booths, and we'll go into more detail. But I mean, they just have so much. I mean, the fairground, where also the spring festival or the winter tallwood take place at other times of the year. It's located centrally in Munich, slightly southwest of the city center. So all of you listeners in Munich, now you know where to go.
Yeah, because they probably had trouble finding it before.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, they needed our advice to find it.
I wonder where Oktoberfest is. There's a bunch of highlights of this. There apparently it kicks off with all the restaurants and breweries parading in to the venues with like horse and carriages, floats, breweries on floats, showmen, bands, all that kind of stuff. After that parade, at exactly 12 o'clock, it's like the ball dropping in Times Square, but it's better because at the end of it, it's not just a date changing, it's that somebody taps a keg. And so the Lord Mayor taps the keg, he hammers it in with a hammer, he yells Ozop Tis, which I said at the top of the show, it means it's tapped. and Oktoberfest is declared, and boom. Then they fire 12 gunshots. I don't know why.
And then, because why not? Yeah, and then everyone goes nuts, and that's the start of the shebang. And
they also place bets on how many strokes of the hammer the mayor's going to need before the beer flows.
Really? I did not know that. That's interesting.
Yep. Apparently the best it's ever been done was in 2 strokes. That man.
I was just going to say, has there ever been like one jacked mayor that hit it in 1 and called it a day?
Apparently the record is 2, but even that guy worked out all year just to whack that thing in on Oktoberfest.
Just some big German dude just like,
who happens to be the mayor.
So there's a lot of history behind Oktoberfest. So as we mentioned, although it's called Oktoberfest, it starts in September. The occasion for the first Oktoberfest was in 1810. It was the wedding of the Bavarian Crown Prince Ludwig to Princess Therese of Sachsen-Hildenbergenhusen. And I know that sounds funny and Steven's laughing, but
Well
that's
done.
literally her name. So I don't know what to tell you.
It went on for a very long time.
Listen, man, those Germans and their names.
Hildburghausen.
Hildburghausen. There it is.
You said Hildenbergenhusen.
Hildenbergenhusen.
That's what you said, and that is incorrect. It's got to be Hildburghausen.
Hildburghausen. Okay.
I like yours better. Can you imagine that wedding, though? Like,
do you, Therese of Sachsen-Hildenbergenhausen, take the crown prince?
But, like, your wedding was the first Oktoberfest. We're still celebrating their fucking wedding.
Exactly.
That's insane. I mean, when Kate and what's his name, when the princess lady got married a few years ago, I only remember because it was on my birthday that they got married.
Kate and what's his name? Yeah.
I don't even remember who the last one was that got married. I don't pay attention to the royal thing. I know
Carson
a lot of
Wentz.
people are into it. When Carson Wentz got married. But like when they got married, there was like a horse and buggy and there was some pomp and circumstance, but that shit is over. We're not still partying that.
Yeah, that shit died down real quick. Everyone apparently my mother woke up at like 4 a.m. because apparently it was it started at like 4:30 or 5. She went over to a friend's house at 4 a.m. to watch a wedding.
Wow. Yeah, a lot of people get really
that's
into
commitment.
that. I mean, I glanced at pictures, but I understand that a lot of people are really into royal weddings. They love to get it's not really my thing, but you know, I'm just saying this wasn't even a queen. This was a prince and a princess getting married in the early 1800s, and because of that, we get to drink beer out of these massive beer mugs. So I hope that Mr. and Mrs. Ludwig Sachsen-Hildburghausen's had a great marriage. Because
Mr. and Mrs. Prince, that's just basically what we'll say. But yeah, it happened in 1810. The festivities ended with a horse race, and because it was so well received and because it was so epic, the festival was repeated in the following years, and then it kept getting extended toward past September, and eventually Oktoberfest actually hit October, which is hilarious. The weather definitely plays a factor. They say in Munich at the end of September, it often provides like a mild Indian summer, as they call it. So the weather is kind of nice and kind of perfect for Oktoberfest. However, let me just say this. Listen, if we're under tents and it's raining, I don't give a shit. We're under a tent. Let's keep drinking.
Yeah.
Like no rain is going to stop this parade.
it's tapped, as the mayor said. Ozaf pissed.
Exactly. Exactly.
I know I'm saying that wrong. So each of the Munich brewers that I listed before erects a tent. They have seating capacities of around 6,000. So they're big ass tents. All right.
They're Cirque du Soleil tents.
Yeah, they're huge. And so the mayor taps the thing, and beer is a drink. Average beer consumption during this is apparently around 2 million gallons, which is a lot of beer. Then the breweries do their parades, as I mentioned, wagons, floats, all that fun stuff, and other entertainment includes games, amusement, rides, music, and dancing. Apparently, currently, I read somewhere that since like '05, they've instituted like a quote unquote quiet Oktoberfest. So like up until like 5 p.m. or something, it's like calmer because they don't want to like scare all the families and like old people and like kids that are there.
Oh, so like from 5 p.m. on,
It's just
like
fucking
that's when the
bedlam.
real party starts.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Apparently that's
Love it.
That's what I read
Love it.
somewhere. Yeah, it seems like a rockin' good time. I wish we were there. I wish it was
6 million people each year, most of them tourists.
Mhm.
I mean, when I studied abroad in London, I unfortunately never made it to Munich. I did make it to Frankfurt, Germany. Nice place. But I had friends that went to Oktoberfest that got just so hammered. They could not talk more about how great it was, how much fun they had. They got lost, of course, because why wouldn't they? But it's hilarious to hear them tell the story.
the fairground on which they do this. Like, if you look at an aerial shot of it, which I'm looking at right now, honestly, it really looks like a city in and of itself. Like, it is about the size of Park City, Utah. Just eyeball test, like that's what it looks like. It probably isn't,
Wow.
but it's huge. Like, if you're thinking of like your local green, like your town square,
No.
it's very big, and it's like sprawling, and there's just a bunch of big tents with people drinking beer and eating pretzels and wearing lederhosen and singing German songs, and a bunch of bar wenches serving beer in these giant steins. And this lady in this picture is carrying like 4 of them, and I only have one, and it's really heavy, and she's one-handing it, like 4 in one hand.
I was just about to say, shout out to, I guess we're calling them wenches now. Shout out to the wenches that have to carry the
Waitresses,
I've seen so
I think,
many.
is probably
Yeah, I know. I'm just fucking with you.
more appropriate.
All the waitresses, but like, I mean, they carry like 8 at a time. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know how one does such a task, but
I'm holding one in my hand right now, and I have to say, I don't know how they do it either.
in regards to the tents, it appears they have 17 large tents and 21 small tents at Oktoberfest. The large tents are like, it's like a factory worth of, picture a giant factory. Like, that's how big these things
Yep.
are. But I mean, even with the smaller tents, like, I feel like your definition of a small tent is not what you think it, like, they're still kind of huge. I mean, 6 million people. I mean, they have to fit so many people in here, and I can only imagine how, like, shout out to security. Like, how do you even, the point of this, more or less, is to just get like hammered with your friends. Like, how are they dealing with all that?
Shout out to that security team, because they're crushing it. We have to move on. I'm really enjoying drinking this beer. I will be very honest with our listeners. It's going to take me a while after we close this episode to finish this.
He'll still be drinking it by the time we start next week's episode.
What we're going to do now is we thought, okay, so we gave you some authentic German Munich-brewed beer that would be served at Oktoberfest. And we thought, everybody has an Oktoberfest. There's so many breweries around the world that brew a version of these kinds of beers. And we thought we would try our hand with a couple of notable breweries, American breweries, and see how it compares. So we're going to do that. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Sweet.
I have the Brooklyn Oktoberfest coming out of the good old Brooklyn Brewery. This beer is a 5.5 percenter. And like my first beer, it is of the Marzen style. The quote from the brewery is saying, "Our take on the classic Marzen lager style with sweet, bready malts and German noble hops. Pack it along for fall celebrations from the first day of jacket weather to game nights to internationally famous beer festivals." It is definitely one of their seasonal options, as you can tell. Tasting notes has been noted as saying clean and classical and toasty. So I am very excited. And another reason why it's perfect for me is because it's got that reddish color. I would even say it's a little more red than the Spaten. It's got that woody copper color, but it's a little bit darker in color. It looks a little richer. So it should be interesting. As I said, 5.5%. The head kind of dissipated kind of quickly. Not a lot of sticky lacing on the sides, which is totally fine. On the nose. Yeah, okay. So, I mean, it's very, very similar to the Spaten, to the classic, it's got a little bit of the caramel, a little bit of the toffee, but it's got that malt backbone to it. It does smell a little sweet, a little bit sweeter than I thought it would be. Yeah, I mean, it smells like fall a little bit. I think if I had like a blind taste test and you said, what season would you drink this in? I mean, I think my first reaction would be fall, not knowing what kind of beer it is. I don't know if I smell hops right away. Maybe I'll taste them. 3, 2, 1, here we go.
Do it up. Yeah, I feel like Oktoberfest beer, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just the name that makes us think it's fall. Like, could you drink this in summer? Yeah, but there's something about it that's just like, at least the one I was drinking, and it sounds like the one you drank before, that's just got a little bit more herbal earthiness to it, a little bit more spiciness, just something a little bit more butternut squash and a little bit less like summer Pilsner, if that makes sense. I don't know. It did in my head. What do you taste?
I feel that. I feel that 100%. Okay, so this is very different from the Spaten. And the first thing I have to mention, it's coming up right away, is the carbonation. Like, I'll say it again with the Spaten, however you say it. The carbonation was not really there. Like, it was just liquid just going straight down. And this is like, okay, this is carbonated. Like this, you can't down this right away. It's got a lot of the nose characteristics. I mean, I've said it so many times, you're probably bored with it by now, but I'm just being real. The malts, very slight hoppiness, caramel, toffee, a little bit of sweetness. But there's something about the back end bitterness taste that makes me think that this was like almost, I really hate to say this, but I don't know any other way to say it, almost like factory made. Like, I feel like the Spaten was so like carved out for a specific purpose, and it was made for the Oktoberfest festivities. And I feel like Brooklyn's seasonal Oktoberfest was more on the side of, let's take that, put our spin on it, and then sell the crap out of it, which is fine. That's totally fine. Like, you do you. But it is very different. But the flavor's there. The smell is there. Like I said, it's a little bit more bitter than the Spaten, just on the back end. And I don't know that I'm getting much else nose or taste wise. I'm definitely getting, like I said, I'm getting the hops in a very subtle way. This is a solid option, though.
Yeah, that's interesting because, when I was looking for American versions of Oktoberfest, the options are all over the place. I mean, you could go Brooklyn, you could go Sam Adams, you could go Sierra Nevada, you could go Jack's Abbey,
right,
and a bunch of those. A couple of those have been on our show before. I opted for East Rock Brewing, which is out of New Haven, Connecticut. So it's a local brewery that is pretty unknown and pretty new. And the reason I opted for them is because, a lot like Jack's Abbey, they solely brew German-style lagers. I mean, all of their beers are lagers. They have an India Pale Lager. They have a whole lot of Pilsners, lagers, Bocks, that kind of thing. But they only brew German-style beers. And so I figured, if I'm going to do an American version of an Oktoberfest, that might be a solid place to go.
And East Rock's brewery is dope. I've been there with the fam. Good time.
Yeah, it's a new place. They began distributing in August of 2018, and they opened their beer hall later that year. So it's fairly young, but they've created an Oktoberfest, and I figured that would be a good one to do. Maybe we'll feature them on a later edition of The Hop. But for now, I have their Oktoberfest. They say their contemporary take on the Oktoberfest style is a brisk amber lager crafted to encourage a state of merriment as we gather to celebrate the harvest season and prepare for snowy months ahead. It clocks in at 6% ABV and has about 20 IBUs. Beer Advocate has it at 85 and Untapped at 3.72. The color is much darker than what I was drinking before, much closer to your Marzen, I would say. It's a copper.
Yeah, it's more orangey in my perspective.
Orange, copper, yeah. On the SRM chart, I would put it around an 8 to 10. I'm drinking out of another beer stein. The head was white or off-white, and it did not retain very much. It's got a little bit of lacing around the glass, but for the most part, it's pretty clean, and it looks pretty well carbonated. Now, on the nose, it's interesting because I still get hit with sweet malt up front, but it's darker than it was with the Fest beer from Paulaner. That one, I think what hit me first on the sweet category was like honey, and this one it's like caramel. It's darker, maybe some butterscotch, and then as you keep smelling it, there's some subtle hoppiness there. There is some pear for sure. And then in the back end, definitely some like toffee and oak. There's definitely a toasted malt quality to this that I didn't get as much on the Paulaner. So
interesting.
That's interesting. But again, that's a Fest beer and this is an amber lager, probably closer to the Marzen style. If we had to put it in one of those two categories.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So the taste really follows the nose on this one. Caramel, toasted malt up front. As it hits the back of your palate, some of the bitterness comes through. You get some really subtle notes of citrus. You get some of that, like I was saying, the pear and maybe even a little bit of orange. Definitely some like brown bread, some hearty malts, maybe a little bit of clove. But the first thing that hits you is the sweet, the malt, all that stuff. And then it fades into some more fruity, earthy characteristics. It is medium-bodied and moderately carbonated. I might even say well carbonated. It's definitely got a little zing in the mouth, and it's got more of a sort of effervescence on the palate than the Paulaner did. That was really crisp and clean. This one is a little bit more alive.
Effervescence. That's a Scrabble word for you.
Thank you. This one has a dry finish as well, although I would say it's less dry than the Paulaner. And comparatively, it's funny because like I kind of wish almost that I had a Marzen to Marzen comparison because like I can't compare the American beer to the German beer really because they're two very different beer styles.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I was just gonna say like I feel like I'm more in that category, and I've been thinking a lot about it, and I think I have my winner of the two, but I need to ask you if you had to pick one, German or American, out of these two.
For Oktoberfest. German. Because this is just more, there's more going on in a certain kind of way. I kind of like it. It does feel very fall, but it's like this would be a great beer while I'm making Thanksgiving dinner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This would be great for that. However, if I want to be under a tent in lederhosen, give me the German.
That's yeah, and I would agree with that 100% because I feel the exact same way. I like the Brooklyn. It's good. It's crisp. It's everything you want it to be. But at the same time, it's where are we? We're in Munich. We're in Oktoberfest. We're under a tent and we're drinking. Mm-hmm. Okay, well then hand me the legit one. I mean, I would want the Spaten just because of it. Like I said when I first drank it, to me this is Oktoberfest. You know, it was cleaner in a way. Not that Brooklyn's is bad or anything. It's really good, but I mean Spaten's took it for me 100%.
Yeah, I would say if you want to have any kind of Oktoberfest celebration or experience, go ahead and walk yourself over to that imported section. Take a look at one of those 6 breweries that is, Paulaner or Spaten or any of the other ones that I mentioned previously that I had trouble pronouncing, such as Hacker Peshore or Augustiner or one of them. And grab grab yourself a true Oktoberfest lager. But there are breweries in the United States doing their best to emulate the style. All right. We have like less than 5 minutes to just briefly touch on this, but the Emmys were this past weekend, and what kind of actors would we be if we didn't talk about it?
Yeah, let's talk about the first 10 minutes of it when Schitt's Creek, one of our go-to shows nowadays, went 7 for 7.
Oh my God.
Ew.
It's just the only Schitt's Creek drop we have.
Yeah, I know, but it still fits. It's still perfect. I mean, the show is everything. The actors are great. It's got a great message. And literally it got to the point where I was like, no, they're not going to win all of it. Oh my God, they want to get. Oh my God, they want to get. Like, I don't think I've ever seen that before.
They did a clean sweep, and what's crazy is Schitt's Creek it has they don't ever even get nominated. Like, it's just like the little engine that could show that I'm just like, yeah, no one's ever going to pay attention to this show. And they cleanly swept the comedy category. It was like an hour in, I was like, the only thing that's won Emmys is Schitt's Creek right now.
Yeah. Literally 7 for 7 with actor, actress, supporting, comedy show, writing and directing.
Yeah.
And one other one. I
actually do want to talk about the first 10 minutes of it because I don't even know if you had turned it on by the beginning.
I had not, so fill me in.
Okay. The thing is, Jimmy Kimmel did a bit where he was he was doing a monologue, telling jokes, all that stuff, and they kept cutting to the crowd. And the crowd was, a theater. It looked like the normal Emmys. Packed theater, no masks, like it looked like the normal Emmys. And the way they cut it was so that every time he told a joke, it cut to the person he was telling the joke about. It really looked like they were just in there. And of course, the joke was of course, everyone's not here. But for the first 5 minutes, I was really concerned. I was like, how is this happening? How did I not know this was going to happen? What is going on?
All of the actors in Hollywood just said, screw it, we're going. It's an award show.
They cut to Larry David and all these people. I'm like, we're going to lose every actor in Hollywood right now. Larry David's about to die because of going to my God. Did somebody get Betty White? Is she in bubble wrap? Because
oh my God, Betty!
It was crazy. And then of course it turned out to not be true. And I have to say, some of the jokes went on a little long. I think some of the speeches went on a little long, but overall, what a feat of producing and the fact that they were able to put that together.
When I first knew, how they were doing the Emmys, my first thought was just kind of I don't really no, I don't need another socially distanced event. But I will have to say they did it really well. And I think they kind of set the tone because I feel like it's with sports and with award shows, just one person has to do it really well to kind of set the tone for everyone else. I feel as though other award shows will be able to kind of learn from this and kind of do their own thing and make their own thing. And, yeah, I agree. I thought some of the jokes were just it's just so weird without an audience.
Yeah.
And without the laughter, just those deadpan silences. It just made it so cringeworthy.
But I feel seeing Schitt's Creek win that many Emmys was really warmed my heart, as did seeing Zendaya win an Emmy for Euphoria, one of my favorite shows of the last 10 years. But did you see Rami Youssef on Instagram recorded a video of what happens when you lost an Emmy? Because all the Emmys were delivered by these interns in hazmat suits. So they're outside everyone's house. And
yeah,
he posted an Instagram video after he lost the Emmy of this just this kid in a hazmat suit holding an Emmy, just waving through his window well, you didn't win, and walking off.
Are you kidding me?
With the Emmy. And you can hear people in the house laughing, and it's just so funny. It's that kid was just standing there with an Emmy, and then he just walks away.
He's just yeah, you didn't win, so screw you.
He just waves
That's
at them
be a slap in the face.
Bye.
Oh my God. One of the funniest parts was when the winners, they got the box with the Emmy in it, and it confetti shot out, and it was a whole thing. I was like, oh wow, they really planned for this. John Oliver and RuPaul for RuPaul's Drag Race. Like when they accepted, when they were doing their acceptance speeches, it was really, they were both just like, oh god, okay. John Oliver at one point was like, I mean, this is technically a bomb, but thank you for the award. Like it was great. When the lead actress, which one? I think it was lead actress. When Toni Collette was nominated for Unbelievable, all I could think of was you being like, all right, let's see it. Like, I was like, God, I hope she wins just because I know Steven's about to text me and be like, what the hell?
I love Toni Collette. Toni Collette.
Yes.
But I would have been upset if she won for that show, which was an excellent show, by the way. It's just,
very excellent
didn't
show.
feel like an Emmy-winning performance. Not her fault. It's just like it didn't have that.
Her character didn't have enough.
There just wasn't a lot of writing there. But, I mean, excellent show. She's great. She gives a great performance in everything she does. It just would have upset me if she beat Zendaya, but she didn't. So
Zendaya, love her. Love her.
All right, guys, we have to get out of here. Happy Oktoberfest. Don your
Guten Tag!
Tap your kegs and grab yourself a beer from Munich, because I'm certainly glad we did.
We are so grateful for you guys to join us again. We will be back next week for round 40 of the Hop. Go on and drink good beer. Cheers, guys.
See you next Thursday. Cheers.